And people often choose fad diets, kind of shakes, bars, dried food, lettuce leaves, cabbage soup, you name it. And the reality is, if you're eating that sort of thing, you're not going to be able to stick to it, and it's not going to work.
I think it's that sign on the fridge door that you have. Fridge pickers wear bigger knickers. That's something that's
You're absolutely right.
motivational, isn't it? Actually, I was doing an outside broadcast last night from a leisure centre, and I was talking to a nutritionalist actually, who, as you just pointed out there, it's something that happens over a period of time when it comes to weight loss. Everybody wants instant results, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work that way, does it?
It really doesn't. I mean, a healthy weight wash, which we sort of would advise at Jane Plan, along with the NHS and the NICE guidelines, that's the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, is £2 a week. And most people think gosh, that sounds so boring. How is that going to be? But actually, if you stop thinking about it as a diet and start eating healthily, the right food in the right portions, and that's key, it will actually become a lot easier. I think you shouldn't really see it as a diet, but more as a lifestyle change, an eating change, a healthy eating change that's going to go on really for the rest of your life.
Do you think the word diet is something that we shouldn't use so much anyway, and just, like you say, make it more of a proposition in life changing?
I think you've actually just hit the nail on the head. It's funny how diet is such a dirty word. And actually, diet doesn't really mean losing weight. You could be on a particular diet for running a marathon. You could be a celiac and following a gluten-free diet. None of these things are to do with losing weight. But somehow, when we see the word diet or we hear the word diet, we think red flag, it's weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. It's bound to be bad for us. It's not good for us. But actually, I think we've really got confused here as a nation about what diet really means. But you're right, it's a proposition. It's eating more healthily and eating less and trying to become a healthier weight. It's a lifestyle change. It's a way of eating. It shouldn't really be seen as a diet. A diet is always perceived as a short-term thing, whereas a lifestyle change is obviously longer term.
It's a bit of a shock, though, isn't it, to hear that 2 years ago the UK was seen as the most overweight nation in Western Europe. How have we come to this?
I don't know. It's unbelievable, really. I mean, I slightly feel that it's the way that we live our lives today, and food is fabulous, but it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. You can't walk down the high street without seeing 4 or 5 different coffee shops, and that's not just a coffee, that's a cappuccino laden with 200 calories, accompanied by a muffin or croissant. Food is on the go all the time. We're constantly bombarded. Our whole sensations are bombarded with it, whether we're on social media, watching a cooking show, walking down the high street, wherever. It's not surprising that we have actually all put on weight. We shouldn't blame ourselves for this. It's just the way the nation's going.
But sure, is it also a lot to do with the fact that the way we work as a country now, a lot of jobs are office-based. We're not doing as much manual work as we were, so we can't eat the same way that we might have done once upon a time.
You're absolutely right. Our activity levels have declined significantly, not just in the last 5 years, but actually over the last sort of 50 years. And we're just not as active in our daily lives. That's everything from, if your phone rings, you pick up your mobile. How many calories does that burn? 1, 2? Years ago, if your phone rang, you had to get off the sofa or walk across to your phone, which might have been in your hall, and pick up the phone. We're so much less active, whether it's manual labour versus sitting at a desk all day, just being at home, active use of the car, whatever. We are basically burning less calories in our day-to-day lives than we used to do.
What little things during the day can we do to help burn off those calories? And should we stop using the remote control and get up to change channels?
Well, little things like that. I know it sounds funny, but they can make a huge difference. And I would always recommend small lifestyle changes. So, for example, in terms of activity levels, if you live in London, for example, or Manchester, or somewhere where there's a tube line, let's say, stop getting the escalator and start walking up the stairs. When you're at work in the office, stop getting the lift and make a point of walking up the stairs. When you're driving in the supermarket, don't circle around the car park 3 times looking for the space closest to the supermarket door. Just park anywhere and walk. I think nowadays we actually have to make a conscious effort to be more active, and little things like that add up. They really do, and make a huge difference.
I have to laugh, actually. You say that about parking in a car parking space furthest away from the entrance of wherever it is you're going. I was a member of a gym where everybody would park as close to the reception as possible. And the spaces further away were always, I was like, what's wrong with everyone? Surely you should be going as far as possible.
I know there's slight irony, isn't it? We drive to the gym so we can spend half an hour on the treadmill. I mean, somehow we need to change our psyche a little bit. That comes to eating as well. Small changes can make an enormous difference. So I think when people think diet, as we've already established, that's a bit of a dirty word, they think they're going to have to completely change everything they do in their life. But the reality is, just by dropping 500 calories a day or reducing your calorie intake by 500 calories a day, you would naturally lose a pound of fat weight a week. And if you're thinking, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, that is about 2 glasses of pub-sized portions of wine. It's a cup of tea and a mince pie. It's a couple of cappuccinos or a cappuccino with a muffin. It's actually not that difficult to make these very small changes to see really good results over the long term.
But, of course, you should still be able to treat yourself. I always think that you might be trying to eat healthily overall, and that's a good thing, but you can't drive yourself nuts by not having the occasional treat. But I always say to myself, it's got to be worth the calories. So if I'm going to eat something that's 300 or 400 calories, then it's got to be damn tasty, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've nailed it there. I think, actually, you're so right. Thinking, is it worth the calories? If you're really starving, a packet of crisps, is it worth the calories? A slice of cake that someone has baked themselves, is it worth the calories? Probably,
Pork pie?
yes. Pork pie. Well, I think the thing we should think here is a treat is a treat, and that should not happen every single day. A treat should be something that you have occasionally, and then, boy, do you really appreciate it, whether it's a pork pie, whether it's fish and chips, whether it's a chocolate bar. But as soon as these things become daily things, they're no longer treats, and that's where we're falling down. Of course we should have treats.
Okay. For my breakfast today, it's an apple and a banana. How's that?
Great, full of fibre. Apples contain pectin, which are a natural satiety suppressant, so you should feel a bit fuller for longer.
Sorry, it's a natural what?
Pectin. It keeps you feeling a bit fuller. But what I would say though, good to get some protein in there. Maybe add some yogurt or some nuts and seeds, and that will also help keeping you feel fuller for longer as well.
How are cashew nuts then? I'm a fan of cashew nuts.
Basically, nuts are good. They're the right sorts of fat and they're a great source of protein. But a little word of caution here, and I see this on Instagram all the time, have coconut milk and add all these nuts in. Yeah, great. Of course, they contain important health properties, but in moderation. Fat is still fat, and it still contains 7 calories per gram, as opposed to protein and carbohydrates at 4 calories per gram. So if you are having nuts, just watch your portion control a bit. Don't go mad.
Okay, definitely worth taking on board. Are you having any treats this weekend?
I'm sure I will be having some treats this weekend. I've got a bit of a soft spot for a coffee, a cappuccino and a croissant.
Oh, really?
This is not the right way to set the day up, but actually on a Sunday morning, it's my treat.
But it's nice to hear the experts say, yeah, I indulge as well, I think we need to hear more of that.
Absolutely. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard their granny say everything in moderation, or maybe you've read in magazines the 80-20 rule. If you're good 80% of the time, you can have things in moderation. But I think what we've lost is our sense of what is being good and what is moderation. I think a real issue today is portion control. We're basically eating too much.
Okay, Jane, it's been a delight to talk to you, and certainly intriguing at the same time. And we're going to round off with it's coincidence, but the song I've got lined up here next is Ed Sheeran's Shape of You. So we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for talking to us on BBC Radio Lancashire this morning.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All the best now. Cheerio.
Bye now.
There we go. Quite interesting that. That's Jane Michel.